Welcome, everyone. We are breaking into our regular programming to discuss a moment that has transcended the boundaries of sports, a moment that has shattered the usual noise of our social media feeds, and a moment that is resonating deeply with parents, educators, and children across the globe. Today, we are unpacking a viral phenomenon. If you have been on the internet in the last 24 hours, you have likely seen the video. It is everywhere. From trending on major social platforms to being shared in private family group chats, the footage of Filipina tennis sensation Alexandra Eala delivering a profoundly moving piece of advice to young kids has captured the world's attention. This is not just another post-match interview. This is not a standard public relations soundbite. This is a raw, unfiltered, and deeply resonant message from a young woman who is currently navigating the intense, unforgiving crucible of professional sports, speaking directly to the next generation about the realities of pressure, the importance of mental well-being, and the true meaning of success. To truly understand the magnitude of this viral video, we must first look at the landscape in which it has landed. We live in an era characterized by relentless expectation. For young people today, the pressure to perform, to excel, and to curate a perfect image of success is heavier than it has ever been in human history. The digital age has brought many wonders, but it has also created a panopticon of comparison. Children are no longer just competing with their classmates or the kids in their local neighborhoods. They are implicitly competing with the entire world, hyper-visible through the screens they carry in their pockets. In the realm of youth sports, academics, and extracurricular activities, the drive to professionalize children at earlier and earlier ages has led to an epidemic of burnout, anxiety, and a loss of the simple, fundamental joy of childhood. Enter Alexandra Eala. At just 20 years old, she has already lived a lifetime of high-stakes pressure. Hailing from the Philippines, a nation with a deep, passionate, and fiercely loyal sports culture, Eala has carried the weight of national expectation on her shoulders since she was a young teenager training at the prestigious Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain. We have watched her grow up on the court. We have seen her secure junior Grand Slam titles, transition into the grueling professional circuit, and most recently, send shockwaves through the tennis world with her performances on the WTA Tour. Just recently, at events like the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships and throughout the early 2026 season, the Eala phenomenon has been in full effect. Veteran tennis photographers, people who have spent 50 years covering legends from Steffi Graf to Roger Federer, have gone on record stating they have never seen anything quite like the crowd energy surrounding Alex Eala. She draws massive, vibrant crowds of Filipino fans and global admirers alike, packing out side courts and filling stadiums with an electric atmosphere that is entirely her own. She is beating Grand Slam champions. She is climbing the ranks. She is doing it all under an intense global spotlight. And yet, amid this meteoric rise, amid the deafening roar of the crowds and the blinding flash of the cameras, she stopped. She took a moment to address the children watching her. The video, which spans just a few minutes, is a masterclass in empathy and grounded reality. She didn't offer the cliché, empty platitudes we so often hear. She didn't just say, "Work hard and your dreams will come true." Instead, she spoke to the hidden struggles. She spoke about the days when a racket feels heavy, when the expectations feel suffocating, and when the joy of the game is eclipsed by the fear of failure. She told kids that it is okay to step back. She told them that their worth as human beings is not dictated by a scoreboard, a grade, or a ranking. She emphasized that passion must be nurtured, not exploited, and that mental health is the absolute foundation of any sustained success. This message is revolutionary precisely because of who is delivering it. When a champion at the peak of her ascent, someone who embodies the ultimate competitive spirit, pauses to validate the emotional struggles of children, it shatters the toxic narrative that vulnerability is weakness. It gives kids permission to breathe. It gives parents a crucial reality check. Why is this resonating so deeply from Manila to Miami, from Madrid to Melbourne? Because it speaks to a universal anxiety. Parents are terrified for their children's mental health in this hyper-competitive world. Coaches are grappling with how to build resilience without causing trauma. And kids, most importantly, are desperate to hear that someone understands them, especially someone they idolize. Eala, by speaking her truth so candidly, has bridged the gap between the superhuman aura of an elite athlete and the very human fragility of growing up. Furthermore, we have to consider the cultural impact. For the Philippines, Alex Eala is more than an athlete. She is a national treasure. She represents the global Filipino identity, resilient, hardworking, and capable of taking on the world. But with that representation comes a staggering amount of pressure. Every forehand she hits, every match she plays, is scrutinized by millions. Her ability to navigate this with grace, to remain so remarkably poised, as she noted after recently beating a multi-time Grand Slam champion, wanted to simply stay in the moment, shows an emotional maturity far beyond her years. When she speaks to kids, she is implicitly speaking to the very culture that idolizes her, gently reminding them that the human being behind the athlete must be protected and cherished. As we dissect this viral moment today, we are not just talking about tennis. We are talking about a fundamental shift in how we view success, childhood, and the responsibilities of our cultural icons. This video has sparked a global conversation, an urgent dialogue about the mental health of our youth. It has forced us to hold a mirror up to the systems we have created and ask ourselves, are we raising healthy, happy children, or are we just mass-producing anxious competitors? Alexandra Eala has given us her answer, and the world is listening intently. This is the hook, the undeniable reality of why a short clip of a young athlete talking into a microphone has eclipsed global news cycles. It is a desperate cry for balance in a world that has lost its equilibrium. And today, we are going to break down every single facet of this phenomenon, the psychology behind her words, the reality of her journey, and profound implications her advice holds for all of us. Let us dig deeper into the mechanics of why this specific video exploded. Virality in the modern age is often driven by outrage, controversy, or fleeting humor. The algorithms that govern our digital lives are designed to amplify the extreme and the polarizing. It is incredibly rare for a piece of content that is purely wholesome, deeply thoughtful, and fundamentally quiet in its emotional resonance to break through the algorithmic barriers and achieve this level of ubiquitous saturation. The fact that Eala's advice to kids achieved this feat speaks volumes about the collective psychological state of the global audience. There is a profound, unarticulated hunger for sincerity. People are exhausted by the artificiality of digital perfection and the toxic grind culture that permeates so much of social media. When Eala looked into the camera, stripped of the usual PR gloss, and spoke with raw, unvarnished honesty about the struggles of growing up and the pressures of expectation, it acted as a digital palate cleanser. It was authentic. It was real. And in a digital ecosystem starved of reality, authenticity is the ultimate currency. Consider the demographics of who is sharing this video. It is not just tennis fans. It is not just sports enthusiasts. It is teachers showing it in their classrooms to open up discussions about anxiety. It is parents sending it to their teenage children with a note saying, "Please listen to this." It is mental health professionals breaking down her words and praising her for articulating complex psychological concepts in a way that is accessible to a 10-year-old. Eala has unwittingly stepped into the role of a generational spokesperson. She represents Generation Z's evolving relationship with work, passion, and boundaries. Unlike previous generations of athletes who were taught to internalize their struggles, to tough it out and project an image of invulnerability, Eala and her contemporaries are recognizing that true strength lies in self-awareness and emotional regulation. By sharing her advice, she is actively participating in dismantling the antiquated, stoic archetype of the athlete, replacing it with a more holistic, humanized model. We also have to contextualize this within her specific sporting environment. Tennis is arguably the most isolating sport in the world. It is an individual gladiator arena where you are entirely alone with your thoughts, your fears, and your mistakes for hours on end. The mental fortitude required to survive, let alone thrive, on a professional tennis tour is staggering. We have seen countless prodigies burn out, succumb to pressure, or walk away from the sport entirely because the mental toll became too much to bear. When Alex Eala gives advice on handling pressure, she is not speaking from theoretical knowledge. She is delivering battlefield wisdom. She is transmitting the survival skills she has had to cultivate in one of the most psychologically demanding environments on the planet. This grants her words an undeniable authority. When she tells a young child that it is okay to feel overwhelmed, it carries the weight of someone who has stared down the barrel of immense, suffocating pressure on center court and found a way to breathe through it. This is why the world is captivated. This is why a simple video has become a global manifesto for youth well-being. And as we transition into our deep dive analysis, we will explore exactly how this young icon is changing conversation, both on and off the court. This brings us to the core of our analysis. To truly deconstruct the impact of Alexandra Eala's viral advice, we must dissect the anatomy of the phenomenon surrounding her, the psychological crisis in modern youth sports, and the profound shift in generational values that she represents. We are witnessing the evolution of an athlete from a fierce competitor to a cultural vanguard. To understand the weight of her words, we must first trace the trajectory of her life. The term child prodigy is thrown around casually, but the lived reality of it is often a pressure cooker of unimaginable intensity. Alexandra Eala did not just stumble into greatness. She was identified early, molded, and placed on a track that demands absolute, uncompromising dedication. Leaving her home in the Philippines at a young age to train at the elite academy level required a sacrifice that most adults would struggle to make, let alone a child. She was thrust into an environment where excellence is not an aspiration. It is the baseline expectation. In this crucible, every aspect of a young person's development is hyper-optimized. Nutrition, biomechanics, psychological conditioning. Everything is calibrated for peak performance. However, what often gets lost in this pursuit of athletic perfection is the fundamental right to a normal childhood. The time for unstructured play, for making mistakes without consequence, for simply existing without a goal, is severely restricted. When Eala speaks to kids in this viral video about the importance of holding on to their joy, she is speaking from the perspective of someone who had to fight fiercely to protect her own joy amidst a system designed to extract performance. Her journey is a testament to resilience, but also serves as a cautionary tale about the razor's edge that young phenoms walk. The transition from the junior circuit, where she dominated, winning Grand Slam titles and capturing the imagination of her country, to the senior WTA Tour is notorious for breaking talented players. The physical disparity, the tactical maturity of older opponents, and the relentless week-in, week-out grind of professional travel can be devastating. Yet, Eala has navigated this transition with a quiet, deliberate grace. Her recent victories against established stars, done with remarkable composure and an absence of dramatic flair, highlight a psychological maturity that forms the foundation of the advice she is now sharing with the world. Let us break down the specific components of the advice that has resonated so universally. While the video presents a cohesive message, it is built on several vital pillars that directly challenge the prevailing dogmas of youth development. The rejection of the grind mentality. For years, the dominant narrative in sports and success culture has been the relentless grind. Sleep less, work more, ignore pain, push through the breaking point. Eala's message acts as a direct counter-narrative. She emphasizes that rest is not a weakness, but a biological and psychological necessity. By telling kids that taking a step back is sometimes the bravest thing they can do, she is actively dismantling the toxic productivity culture that is burning out children before they even reach high school, the decoupling of identity and achievement. Perhaps the most profound piece of her advice is the separation of self-worth from external validation. In the digital age, a child value is often quantified by likes, followers, grades, and trophies. Eala reminds her young audience that a loss on the court, a failed test, or a missed opportunity does not diminish their inherent value as human beings. This is a radical concept in a society that constantly evaluates and ranks its youth. She is offering them an anchor of self-acceptance in a turbulent sea of external judgment. Navigating the noise of the digital panopticon, the modern child is growing up under constant surveillance. Social media has created an environment where every action can be scrutinized, criticized, and amplified globally. As a public figure who has dealt with both intense adulation and the inevitable vitriol of the internet, Eala's advice on managing the noise is invaluable. She teaches kids the importance of boundary setting, of curating the voices they choose to listen to, and of understanding that the opinions of strangers on the internet do not reflect reality. The primacy of passion. Above all, her message circles back to the concept of passion, not the manic, obsessed passion that leads to burnout, but the pure, intrinsic love for an activity. She warns against the danger of letting external pressures from parents, coaches, or society extinguish that internal flame. If the joy is gone, she argues, the pursuit becomes hollow, regardless of the accolades achieved. The explosive popularity of this video is a symptom of a broader, systemic crisis in youth sports and child development. We have created an ecosystem that is fundamentally hostile to the psychological well-being of young people. The professionalization of youth sports, characterized by expensive travel teams, year-round specialization in a single sport from a young age and hyper-competitive parents, has led to a startling increase in anxiety, depression, and physical injuries among children. The helicopter parent or the sports parent phenomenon has reached a fever pitch. In the desperate rush to secure college scholarships or athletic glory, adults are projecting their own unfulfilled ambitions onto their children. Kids are playing in fear. Fear of letting their parents down. Fear of angering their coaches. Fear of losing their status among their peers. The joy of play has been replaced by the anxiety of performance. Alexandra Eala's video acts as an intervention. It is a powerful voice of authority, speaking from the very pinnacle of athletic achievement, telling the adults in the room to back off. When a young person looks at Eala, they see the ultimate success story. When Eala turns around and tells those same young people that their mental health is more important than their backhand, it carries a weight that 1,000 concerned psychologists could never match. She is hacking the system of athletic idolization to deliver a message of psychological salvation. She is providing the vocabulary and the permission for kids to articulate their own boundaries. Tio fully grasps the dynamics at play. We must also examine the specific cultural context of the Eala phenomenon. As noted by veteran tennis observers, the crowd energy surrounding her matches is unprecedented. Filipino fans have created an atmosphere reminiscent of a Davis Cup final during her early round matches. They gather in thousands, turning quiet stadiums into a sea of national pride. This level of support is incredibly beautiful, but it also constitutes a massive psychological burden. For Eala, every time she steps onto court, she is not just playing for herself, her family, or her ranking. She is carrying the hopes, dreams, and immense pride of over 100 million people. In a country that passionately embraces its sporting heroes, the expectations placed on a rising star can be completely suffocating. The nation is starved for a global champion in a premier individual sport like tennis, and they have collectively placed those hopes on her young shoulders. How she manages this pressure is a central theme of her viral advice. She does not reject the support, she embraces it, but she also sets clear internal boundaries. Her ability to compartmentalize, to feel the love of her nation without being crushed by their expectations, is a masterclass in psychological resilience. When she advises kids on how to handle pressure, she is implicitly talking about how she handles the weight of the Philippines. Her message is about finding your own center of gravity when the world around you is spinning out of control. It is about understanding that while you can be a symbol for others, you must ultimately play the game, live the life, and make the choices for yourself. Alexandra Eala is part of a broader generational shift in the world of sports. We are witnessing the rise of a new cohort of athletes who are redefining what it means to be a champion. This generation is distinctly different from their predecessors. They are more open about their mental health struggles. They are fiercely protective of their personal boundaries. Consider the recent history of tennis. We have seen players fundamentally change the conversation around mental health, prioritizing their well-being over the rigid expectations of the tour. Eala is inheriting this new paradigm and pushing it forward. Her viral video is a defining artifact of this new era. It demonstrates that the modern athlete is expected to be more than just a physical specimen. They are expected to be whole, integrated human beings who use their platforms for positive cultural impact. Eala is not just a tennis player. She is a role model in the truest sense of the word. She is modeling healthy behavior, emotional intelligence, and radical empathy. The reason her advice to kids has gone viral is that it is the exact advice that adults wish they had heard when they were young. She is healing generational trauma through the medium of a viral social media clip. As we bring this extensive analysis to a close, it is imperative to reflect on the lasting legacy of what we have just witnessed. The virality of Alexandra Eala's advice to kids will eventually fade from the relentless churn of the daily social media news cycle. The trending hashtags will be replaced, the algorithms will pivot to the next global talking point, and the internet will move on, as it always does. However, the true impact of this moment will not be measured in likes, shares, or fleeting digital engagement. The true impact will be measured in the quiet, unseen shifts that are happening right now in living rooms, on practice courts, and inside the minds of young people all over the world. This video has served as a global intervention. It has forced a necessary pause in the manic, hyper-competitive machinery of modern youth development. By speaking with such raw, unvarnished honesty, Eala has given children something far more valuable than athletic tips. She has given them the vocabulary to articulate their own boundaries and the permission to prioritize their own peace. She has provided a mirror for parents and coaches, challenging them to confront the pressures they may inadvertently be placing on the shoulders of the youth they are meant to guide. When a 20-year-old phenom, carrying the hopes of an entire nation and competing at the absolute pinnacle of global tennis, tells the world that mental health, joy, and fundamental self-worth must supersede the pursuit of victory, it radically alters the definition of what a champion looks like. Eala is proving that you do not have to sacrifice your humanity on the altar of ambition. You do not have to become a ruthless, unfeeling machine to climb the ranks of professional sports. Instead, she is demonstrating that deep empathy, emotional intelligence, and an unwavering commitment to one's own mental well-being are not liabilities. They're the very foundations of sustainable, long-term success. She is writing a new blueprint for the modern athlete, one where the heart and the mind are trained with just as much rigor and care as the forehand and the serve. For the millions of kids who watch that video, Alexandra Eala is no longer just a tennis star on a screen. She has become a trusted confidant, a virtual mentor who understands the terrifying weight of expectation because she carries it herself every single day. She has told them that their struggles are valid, that their fears are normal, and that their inherent value as human beings will never, ever be determined by a scoreboard. This is a message that has the power to save lives, to rescue childhoods from the brink of burnout, and to foster a generation of young people who are resilient not because they have suppressed their emotions, but because they have learned to understand and honor them. As Eala continues her ascent on professional tour, facing down the absolute best in the world and navigating the massive, passionate crowds that follow her every move, she will undoubtedly hit incredible winners and suffer heartbreaking losses. That is the nature of the sport. But regardless of what happens within the lines of the tennis court, her legacy off the court is already firmly secured. With a few minutes of genuine, heartfelt advice, she has achieved something that transcends the sport of tennis entirely. She has sparked a global movement of compassion, reminding us all that in the relentless pursuit of greatness, the most important thing we can ever be is fundamentally, unapologetically human. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into a truly historic cultural moment. Stay safe, be kind to yourselves, and we will see you next time.